Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
You're listening to Believe You Me with Michael the Count Bisping.
You know my name yet?
And Anthony Lionheart Smith.
All right, so here we are, Believe You Me. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, the undisputed, the interim, soon to be undisputed, the interim heavyweight champion of the UFC, Tom Aspinall. I'm a huge fan, huge supporter, good friend. I'll get abuse in the comment section for kissing your ass, but I don't care. How the hell are you, Tom?
I'm doing well, thanks, Mike. Forget about the comment section. We're not bothered.
Oh.
We're happy. We're happy without them. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, thanks, mate. Everything is on track. I've obviously got a big fight coming up in 4 weeks' time or something like that. And working towards that, mate.
Yeah, the same old things. The old grind, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? But camp, all going well, no injuries, feeling good, feeling positive, and all that good stuff.
Well, what the fighters always say that, don't they? I'm not going to start.
Best shape of my life.
I'm not going to start telling you it's shit, am I? No, but it's good. It's actually genuinely. I'm doing things in the gym and reaching heights now that I've never really reached before, in all honesty. And I'm really happy with the way it's going so far. Yeah, happy with it. Reaching
new heights. Oh, my God. What is this man capable of now? I'm out here in Vegas, Tom, UFC 303 International Fight Week. Of course, if you weren't fighting, you'd probably be out here. But you're at home. You're slogging away. You're going to the gym every day. What's new outside of the fight camp, mate?
In all honesty, Mike, nothing. It's just, you know what it's like? Well, once I've got a date, that's it. That's all I'm thinking about. Do you know what I mean? I'm just doing the regular stuff. Training twice a day. In between training sessions, I'm sleeping. I'm just, that's it. Gym and sleep, mate. There's nothing. I don't know. For me personally, it's like I'm either all in or I'm not really in at all. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm fighting, I'm like, I want to be 100% in. Like I'm not focusing on anything else right now apart from beating Curtis Blades, and that's it. Yeah, no, of course. With this being a rematch, Tom, you've been in there before. People, I forget who it was. Someone was talking to me recently, or maybe I saw a post saying what people don't. I think it might have been John Jones actually saying what people don't realize that Curtis was piecing him up in that first fight before he blew his knee out. That's not how I saw that. But coming into this one, with it being a rematch, with it being, call it 15 seconds, whatever it was, that's not enough time to really get a feel for the man. But how is the headspace and the emotions and all that type of stuff? Well, this is actually the first rematch of my entire career, amateur and professional. I've never fought the same guy twice before. But I mean, the first one wasn't really a fight. You can't really judge your 15 seconds and a quick exchange. And I've trained for him before. I've done a full training camp for him before. So obviously, I kind of studied him beforehand and I knew what to work towards beforehand. But things have changed since then. It's been like 2 years now. I've had fights, he's had fights. There's been a lot. Things change quick in MMA, as you know. So there's more footage on him, there's more footage on me, and I'm in a completely different headspace now than I was then. And I feel like the last fight, taking it on 2 weeks' notice in the worst circumstances possible and pulling that off, that's just given me so much confidence that I didn't have before. So I think it's, if he thinks he's going to be fighting the same person this time around, he's massively mistaken. One thing, Tom, obviously when I was fighting, my career meant the world to me. So I would work my ass off and I would consistently overtrain. Given what you're saying here, do you monitor that? Do you have people around you to make sure that you're not overdoing it? Because I'm sure but people watching this might not realize overtraining can be worse than undertraining sometimes. Definitely. And I do I need people around me to tell me to back off sometimes. A couple of weeks ago, we didn't have a week off, but I had like a few days in Spain where I just spent a bit of time in the sun. I still trained when I was there and stuff, but like I was still 6 weeks away from my fight at the time, and I'd already done a lot of hard work by that point. So just trying to take my foot. I do need that, especially with fights like this, like big magnitude. Obviously, I really want to win this fight, and I'll do everything that I can to win it. But as you said, sometimes you can want it a little bit too much, especially being a big guy. Overtraining is quite easily done. Do you know what I mean? It like, especially when you're like me and I train with almost exclusively heavyweights now. It takes a lot out of the body, so you do have to be careful. But luckily, I've got some really, really good people around me who monitor that, and I need it. I need it because I fucking want this more than anything. And sometimes as well, when you start overtraining, you start getting tired, or at least I do. I start thinking, shit, I need to do more. I'm not fit enough here. I'm feeling tired all the time. I need to push my conditioning more, and it's not always the case.
Yeah, well, a great man, Jason Perillo, told me, and it took me a long time to realize this. He said, and I've said this many times, it takes confidence to take a day off, because a lot of fighters are of the mindset, oh, you see them on social media, you see them training. I was talking to a fighter last week that shall remain nameless. He's got a fight coming up, and he's like, this is driving me crazy. I'm here doing this, and I see him on social media. I want to get back to the gym. I've got to get going, and as to the original point, Jason Perillo was like, Mike, it takes confidence to say, I'm good. I'm trending above average. Everything's on track. I'm going to take a day off. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to have a nice little meal. It takes a lot of confidence to do that, mate, which of course you do have. Curtis Blades, all the best of luck with that one, Tom. Of course, I'll be there commentating it. Very, very much looking forward to it. This is, we're beating a dead dog here, right? The John Jones stuff. What is the situation now? Is that all kind of died down? Are you over it? I mean, it is what it is. I saw you saying it's not going to define your legacy, but where is everything with that, Tom?
Honestly, I'm not really bothered about it at the moment. I'm just like Curtis Blades is all that really matters to me right now. I'm not really thinking about that. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. And for right now, all I'm thinking about, mate, is Curtis Blades. I know that's a boring answer. I know that people want me to smack talk, and some people don't. Some people, stop crying about it, Tom. I'm like, I'm not crying about it. Every interview, people ask me about it, so I'm just choosing to, for right now, until this fight's out the way. And this is a very, very serious fight, a very big fight for me. So I'll be focused on Curtis Blades till the fight's over with.
Yeah, no, I know, and that is a boring answer, Tom. Let's be honest, but it's the correct answer. It is the correct answer because you're not even fighting him, but. Deal with Curtis Blades. That's the plan. You've got to think it's either Stipe or John next. And there will be some kind of madness if it wasn't.
Oh, like, if I win this one in impressive fashion, the next thing for me is undisputed. And there's no two ways around. I'm happy to wait or do whatever after that. Do you know what I mean? Like, this one was in Manchester and it was a rematch with Curtis Blades. So obviously I want to get that one back because I've got a loss to him. But after this one, mate, it has to be undisputed next because I deserve it.
Yeah, without question. Does that really feel like a loss, though, Tom? I know on the record it is, and you know that most real fans know what happened, right? So mentally to you, does it actually feel like a loss?
It says that I lost, so that means that I lost to me. Yeah, and I want to get it back. I'm so motivated to get it back. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, if it was a street fight, he would have been...
he would have been stamping on your head while you were rolling around the floor like a little baby, clutching your leg. Exactly.
So he won that one. And I'm happy to say that, and I'm happy to move on from it. Like I said, that was a long time ago now, and it's... I'm happy to get the opportunity to get the win back over him. Do you know what I mean? And I respect Curtis as well. Do you know what I mean? He's a good guy. He's got a great team around him. Really solid human being. Nothing against him personally, but professionally, I owe him a beating. Yeah,
no, he's an awesome fella. You know what I mean? There's nothing to not like. I saw you guys last time. You guys were sharing a beer and stuff like that. So it's just competition. It is what it is. Speaking of street fights, Tom, right? The new arena. You're going to be stepping in that octagon at about 4:00 in the morning, I would say, something like that. You know, everyone's going to spill out 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a rowdy crowd. When I did the same thing at UFC 204, everybody was shit-faced. It's going to be one hell of an atmosphere, mate.
I can only imagine what that walk's going to be like. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anything... I mean, I've headlined London a few times at this point. 3 times I've headlined the O2, and that's wild. And that's at 11 o'clock in London. Now, in Manchester, at 5 a.m., I just can't even. I can't even imagine. Like, I feel like that's like a starter. If you're talking about if you're talking about this being the steak dinner, that's like some shitty starter that you get the O2 Arena in comparison.
That's your amuse-bouche.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I feel like nothing is preparing me for that one.
No, exactly. Well, best of luck, mate. I'm going to be there. It's going to be incredible. Where does somebody go at 6 o'clock in the morning when the fights finish? What's the plan, Tom? Have you got like a little bougie brunch? You know, a few mimosas, a bit of champagne with your bacon and egg. What is the plan in your mind mentally? Because when I did it, I had tons of plans. And all we did was we went back to the hotel room, we had a few beers, we celebrated, and then we all fell asleep, you know. But what are you doing afterwards if you get the win that you plan?
At the moment, I don't even know. I was thinking the same. Like, there's quite like after I won the UFC interim heavyweight world title, I had the shittest after party ever. Like, it was like 3 a.m. in New York, something. By the time I got done with media, I was walking around. They said, call it the city that never sleeps, mate. Nowhere was open. Everyone was asleep. Couldn't find anywhere open. Ended up in some dive bar, like just off Times Square until about 5 a.m. Couple of drinks. No one was there. Then we went to bed. So this time I've not got my hopes up for anything. I don't know, mate. Usually I like to think I'll go to bed and I'll get on the booze and that the next day, but I can never sleep after my fights. You know what I mean? My adrenaline's pumping that much. It takes me about 2 days, 3 days before I start to, you know, settle back into normal life after a fight. So I don't know. Is the honest.
Yeah.
I might get Weatherspoons or something for breakfast.
We'll figure it out, Tom. We'll figure it out because you know what I'm doing when I get there. Because I'm just doing my flights right now and I'm debating: do I fly back Sunday or do I fly back Monday? And I think I'm going to fly back Monday and have a little bit of fun afterwards. Geez, let me see, Tom. So Tom Aspinall is now the interim heavyweight champion of the world. Tom Aspinall's got a lot going on. You're stealing my jobs, Tom. I know you're doing, what is it, the Fight Lab? You're doing big things on TNT Sports.
Oh, yeah, we got Tom Aspinall's Fight Lab once a month before the... so it's like they play it on TNT Sports 6 days before the numbered events. And they play it every night. Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Obviously, I'm new to the job. Do you know what I mean? It's brand new stuff for me. It's new territory. But I'm enjoying it, you know. As a fighter, if you can't talk about fighting, like, what can you talk about? Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's a bit of an unusual show in the fact that we have a celebrity guest on every time and a different celebrity guest every time. There's me and Catterall, and we do like visual breakdowns as well as like a breakdown on the board. We pointing all the stuff out, and yeah, we just generally talk about the fights. It's a good time. We have fun with it.
It's way easier when you've got somebody there and you can do a visual breakdown, because it's very hard. Like when we're sitting here like this and we're talking about fights and we're doing a post reaction or whatever, to try and paint the picture verbally is very hard. But when you can grab hold of someone and show the head position and do this, the underhook and all whatever, so much easier. You're doing a great job, Tom. So you had the guy from the script on. I was trying to think. I know the script. I can't think of one of his songs, though. He seemed like a lovely fella.
Danny from the script. Yeah, Danny. Mate, don't ask me about script songs. I don't know. He's got, what's it called? The Man Who Can't Be Moved.
He had a couple of big hits, though.
The Man Who Can't Be Moved was a good one. And the Hall of Fame was another good one. He did with Will I Am, I Believe. Why is the...
I don't know. You got balloons going on.
Why is the balloons going on?
Because you're the champ, Tom. You've been celebrated everywhere you go. They're like, f***ing hell, send him some balloons.
Yeah, he was good. Danny was really good. You know, he was really into it, and that's something else that I like with the show as well. I think a lot of people, maybe more so in the UK, a lot of people now, they're kind of just getting into it and they don't understand like the ins and outs of techniques and the intricacies of setups and takedowns and switching from transition to position and strikes to takedowns and strikes to kicks and how to set things up. And, you know, just to have the opportunity as well, just to, you know, educate people who don't know about it. It's really nice. And I'm happy to be able to do that a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Tom, because I think you're involved with it. And if you know what I'm talking about, don't mention it because we're not allowed. I was just a part of a show yesterday and doing a little bit today. Two guys that you know. If you're not, I'll tell you after, but we can't talk about it. And the whole thing is convincing them about how great mixed martial arts and the UFC is. And to your point, what you spoke about, I remember I was on a movie shoot a couple of years ago, and a guy that I made friends with, great guy, and a ton of respect for him. He was like, I don't like it. I don't like it, Mike. It's too violent. It's too dangerous. It's too this. It's too that. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. And the point that I'm making is it's crazy because out here, I'm in Vegas. It's International Fight Week. The whole place is going crazy for UFC. And whilst there's been a massive, massive appreciation and an uptick in the appreciation in the UK, there's still quite a long way to go, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, I don't know what you're talking about there. You'll have to tell me off camera. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, they said they're going to be hunting you down and maybe talking to you in Manchester. So I thought maybe, anyway, whatever.
Let me know. But yeah, if I can be like, I mean, I don't see myself as like a role model or anything like that. But if I can be like a decent-ish representation and represent our sport a little bit to someone who doesn't, I think that still a lot of people look at it and think, oh, what a load of thugs. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see myself like that, at least. And I see myself as a professional athlete who's, nearly on the top of his game, who's coming into his prime pretty soon. And I've spent my life doing this. And if I can educate someone a little bit on that we're not all thugs and we're not, don't get me wrong, we're all tough lads, you know what I mean? We all like a scrap here and there, but we've all got somewhere to channel it towards. Yeah. And that's, it keeps us out of trouble. It keeps us on the straight and narrow. It keeps us in a mentally good place. It keeps us in obviously a physically good place. And yeah, just somewhere to channel your energy towards. And as you said, give people an idea on the intricacies of it all, because it's one of the most technical sports in the world.
Yeah, I was talking to this guy yesterday and I'm like, look, listen, so are you a fan of Olympic sports? He's like, yeah, I am. I said, do you like boxing? He's like, yeah. I said, oh, it's really hard, isn't it? He said, yeah. I said, what about wrestling? Do you have an appreciation for how tough wrestling is? He's like, yeah. I said, what about judo? And we went on and on, taekwondo. I said, well, this is 4 or 5 different Olympic sports. We're just doing them all at the same time. Anyway, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. When I first started with the UFC, I was on the train to London all the time talking to journalists and stuff. And they used to ask me stuff like, can you bring weapons in? I'm like, oh my God, no, you can't bring weapons. And when my first fight at the MEN, I did this, you would have seen her, I forget her name. She's always on like ITV News or weather, she was doing a thing. And she's like, she was talking about me doing the intro and she referred to me as a barbarian. And I said, I'm not a barbarian, by the way. She goes, well, you look like a barbarian. And I had the skinhead and everything. I said, well, I'm not a barbarian. You've just met me. I said, I'll keep my thoughts to you, about you to myself. But mutton dressed as lamb does spring to mind.
Yeah, do you know what? I actually had a similar thing recently when I was on. It wasn't a media day for this fight. It was my last fight or the one before, I don't know. When they do your little media tours around the UK and you've got to go and do radio stations, TV shows and all that. They stuck me in on like some, I don't know, classic music kind of place. And they said, listen, you'll be the ideal person for it. Do you know what I mean? You're like pretty well spoken. You can speak about the sport, all that kind of stuff. I said, yeah, no problem. Absolutely. One of the first questions the woman asked was something like, how does it feel to make someone else bleed, or something ridiculous like that? And straight away, mate, the UFC staff came in and pulled me out the interview. They said, we don't want to be talking about stuff like that.
Well, because clearly from that point, there's an objective. They're not trying to give it a fair shake. They're going to be critical and they're going to try and paint it in a light, that is not pleasing to their audience. Like I was talking to these people yesterday. I said, listen, you can't skirt around the subject. It's a brutal sport. Of course it is. And it's not for the faint-hearted, but it's also a beautiful sport. It's a tremendous sport. It's very, very tough and all the rest of it. So anyway, anybody listening to this is getting bored of me by now, saying how great MMA is. You're a bit of an analyst these days, Tom. You would have been here.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You say this all the time. Tom Aspinall, analyst supreme.
Dabbling in it, that's all.
You're
just starting off.
Dabbler, mate. Dabbling at taking my gigs. Alex Pereira. What do we think about this guy?
Beast. Absolute beast, man. Yeah, big fan. Yeah. Like him a lot. Yeah, he's cool.
What is that? That was a weird answer.
What do you mean? I'm being honest. I'm a big fan of his, mate. I think he's really good. And I think, there's definitely something special about him.
Oh, without question. I was sorry. I wasn't sure if you were being sarcastic or what.
No, I'm being deadly serious, mate. I'm being deadly serious. I think big fan of his. Love Jiří Procházka as well. Absolutely love the fight, and the fact that the UFC have pulled this off on 2-3 weeks' notice is absolutely insane. They fought on we were on the same card the first time in Madison Square Garden. It was only 6 months ago, and they made it again. This is wild. This is why we love the UFC. Like, I'm a massive, massive fan of both guys, and I rewatched the fight a couple of days ago. Pretty close, actually. A lot closer than I remember. Doing well. Yeah, I actually think, much like, Mike, your fight with GSP, like, I thought that you and Jiří were both coming back into the fight and then got stopped.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
You had to bring that up, didn't you? You had to throw it. When you lost at MSG and I won at MSG? Well, I thought you were doing well. You were coming back into it, you one-eyed prick. What Pereira's done, though, it's hard not to be a fan of this guy. You know what I mean? Like, just the way he handles himself. I mean, just the other day, leading up to the fight, he's changing an Uber driver's tire and stuff like that. He seems like a really good dude. What he's accomplished is incredible. But I think I've annoyed quite a lot of people on YouTube because I did a little video. I think Jiří, this will be my pick. I think Jiří knocks him out. I think Yuri's going to do it. If Israel Adesanya did it, Jiří can, because he hits like a brick. Of course, that was at 185, so the whole weight cut stuff, it affects your ability to take a shot. But in that first fight, he was landing shots. He had Pereira biting on the feints and stuff like that. I think Jiří pulls it off. But what do I know? What do you think, mate?
Tough to say, innit? It's really, they're both massive punchers. I think the first fight, to me, came down a lot to Jiří Procházka stands with his legs really wide, and that is susceptible a lot of the time to leg kicks, which Alex Pereira is fantastic at. The calf kicks, chopping away at the thigh, and then that's when he starts to bring that really, really dangerous left hook in that he lands on everybody. And he just seems to I don't know, he almost has like a sleeping pill in his fist. It's wild that when he hits you, that's it, you're just goners. And I don't know, but to push for a prediction, I honestly wouldn't be surprised either way. But I always think I think I would lean towards Pereira, to be honest. But you never know. I wouldn't be surprised either way, mate. They're both absolutely insane fighters, both of them. Love watching both of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's one of those fights. It can go either way. All fights can, but this truly is one of those that both men have the finishing power. I've just got a feeling Jiří's going to do it, but it's just as likely that Pereira knocks him out again. And that's what makes it a great fight. Let me ask you something, Tom. If 2 weeks before the fight, if you bust your little pinky toe, is that it? Are you calling it off?
What, are you talking about McGregor? Is that what he...
I knew that was a stupid way of segueing.
I don't know. It depends on the circumstances, doesn't it? I mean, I can understand he's on a bad run in McGregor. Yeah. And he's trying to get back on top. He doesn't want this to be the end. He doesn't want to end like that. And I get that. That's probably why he's even with a broken toe, like you say, there's a lot of people who would have continued with that and pushed for the fight. But in his spot, I think it probably is that, because he can call the shots, mate. He's not like one of the other mortals. Do you know what I mean? Like, where they'll just, if you pull out, they'll replace you with someone else. He can just say to the UFC, listen, me and Chandler will do it in December, for example. Or at last minute, he might go, listen, I don't want Chandler. Let's switch it over and do something. Like, he can do whatever he wants. And if I could do whatever I wanted, I'd probably do what's right for me.
Yeah, of course. I'm putting these glasses on. I took them off. They look massive in this. They're not this big in real life. You're right, though. You're right with respect to McGregor, because you've got to give him respect. And whenever I said this recently, people were like, why are you defending him? It's like, well, the man has done incredible things, but he has lost 3 out of his last 4. If I'd lost 3 out of my last 4 and I broke my toe, I'd be like, no, bollocks to this. I want to go in 100%, because if he loses to Chandler, then more, will he still have big fights? Will he still sell out arenas? Yeah, of course he will. But then the whole narrative of him being one of the best still presently is done. It's out the window. So it was the right thing. Tom, last week I was in Saudi Arabia. You ever been there?
I've never been out. How was it? I've heard mixed reviews on Saudi.
Yeah. No, the people were fantastic. The people were great. You know, I like a beer though, so that was challenging.
Yeah, sure.
The reason I bring that up, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, they were competing. Volkov got the job done. What did you think of that? Did you see it?
Yes, I watched it. Yeah. I wasn't surprised, to be honest. Volkov is he's very good also. I think, in my opinion on heavyweights, it's like if someone's big and muscular and they're winning fights, automatically everyone just buys into it and goes, oh my God, this guy's the best heavyweight ever. Do you know what I mean? And that Pavlovich, fair play to him, he was starching everyone. He's a massive guy. He's muscly, he's strong, he's handsome, he's dangerous. Like he's got a lot going for him. But without kicking a man while he's down, he's quite one-dimensional in his skill set. What I mean by that is he walks you down and he throws bombs, and if he lands them, the referee's going to be waking you up. Simple as that. But if you can negate that by overwhelming him with other stuff, being awkward, using your footwork, potentially using your wrestling, using your kicks like Volkov did, switching stances, staying off the centre line, there is success to be had with him. And that's exactly what we saw with Volkov. Volkov's had about 500 fights. You know what I mean? He's an absolute veteran of the sport, and he's not going to be intimidated by, a dangerous prospect like Sergey Pavlovich.
You put that perfect, Tom, so I'm not going to add anything to it, and you're absolutely right in every way. The reason I brought it up, knowing that you're fighting Curtis just around the corner, seeing those guys fighting at a high level, Volkov going out there defeating Pavlovich, and you dispatching Volkov the way that you did, does that, does it fill you with, confidence and pride? Not from an arrogant standpoint, but it's good to see people that you've defeated fighting at the high level and know that you finished them both very quickly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to blow my own trumpet a bit here, Mike.
Blow it.
If
you don't, I will. That's what they'll all say.
I finished both guys in under a round, but a combined time of under a round, both of them.
Wow.
Which, I'm going to say that's quite impressive. But yeah, mate, both very good, both elite heavyweights. But it's MMA. It doesn't always add up. Fight mass doesn't add up like that. Do you know what I mean? Just because I've beat somebody easily doesn't mean somebody else will beat, I can beat one guy, he can beat the other guy and then lose to him, and it's all over the place. You know what MMA is like. So I know them guys have trained together a lot before. And it's MMA. Whoever shows up on the night wins. Simple as that. I think we do a lot of these podcasts and we do a lot of the breakdowns, and it's pretty simple. One guy wins and one guy loses. Sometimes it's not always that complicated. Whoever shows up at the best on the night wins, and that's it sometimes. And that's what Volkov did.
Very, very true words. I won't keep you too much longer, Tom. I know you've been training. I know you're tired. Where are you right now? You just pulled in the side of the road?
Yeah, on my way back from the gym, mate, and I just pulled in to chat to you, Michael.
Is your dad in the car?
No, I'm on my own. Look.
Don't lie. You never leave the house without your father.
I do, honestly. I do sometimes.
I'm very surprised. The reason I asked is because will Andy be in the corner in Manchester, and if your hair gets a little messed up, will he be pulling out a comb and giving you a little brush?
What, like that? As an analyst now, that is something that I've never seen before, and I can't explain that either. That was fantastic. Loved it.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Do you think, is he taking the piss? He's got to be taking the piss, Annie.
I don't know, but I had to take the piss on commentary. I'm like, what the is going on? These guys get on the side. They had a legit comb. I'm like, my God. I think they're going to be taking the piss. Do you think they had a laugh about it before?
I'm sure that I could see Volkov let out a little smirk there. trying not to, but he definitely let out. Fantastic.
Oh, dear. Brilliant. All right, Tom, I'll be in Manchester. I'll let you go, mate. I appreciate your time. So you got Pereira winning this weekend. You're, of course, very, very confident. You're going to beat Curtis Blades. Then you get to fight John Jones. What is the long goal? Where do you think this is going to take you? When do you think you'll retire? Last question.
It's that that's a difficult subject for me. And I'm fully aware now that I'm in like the second half of my career, let's say. I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. I'm safe to say that now. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I absolutely love it. And each fight, I love it more and more. And each day, I love it more and more. I'm doing well. Everything's going good. I'm making money. I'm winning titles. I'm getting finishes. Do you know what I mean? And as long as it's going like that, I'll be sticking around. So I don't really know is the honest answer. I absolutely love and live for this sport. There's not one person in this sport who loves it more than me. And I absolutely love fighting people. Love it. It's everything to me. So to answer the question, Mike, I don't know. But also, I don't want to be one of them guys who sticks around getting knocked out left and right. Do you know what I mean? So when it starts slipping a bit, I might start thinking about that kind of thing. But for right now, everything's going good. And I'm really, really having the time of my life in this sport. So I'll stick at it until it doesn't go that well.
Tom, and that was a beautiful answer, because as you were saying that, I'm sitting there and I'm smiling inside because I felt the exact same way. But you did depress me a little bit.
Go on. Why?
Well, because you said you're in the second half of your fight career. I'm in the second half of my life. Do you know what I mean? It's the days are counting down now. They're not going up. Do you know what I mean? I've got to live to 92 to be able to match this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if I'll make it to 92.
I believe in you, Mike. I reckon your best years are ahead. Your best years are ahead, I reckon.
Damn right they are. Tom, sorry to take up your time. All the best with the rest of training camp. I'll see you in Manchester, mate. Really appreciate your time. Hate to bother you.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, mate. See you in a bit.
All the best, pal. Take care, Tom. Well, I'm very excited about this new sponsor. I'm talking about HexClad, which is going to revolutionize your cooking experience with the HexClad cookware. Listen, cooking, it's a big thing in our house. Rebecca and Ellie, they are obsessed with not using non-stick pans. So we're cooking with cast iron pans, frying pans, skillets, whatever you want to call them, right? The problem is they're very heavy and they get bloody hot. Apparently it's better for you. The chemicals that they use on the non-stick, okay, apparently that's not good for you. So Ellie and Rebecca, they're like, we can't use them anymore. We've got to use cast iron like your grandma does. But the problem is, as I say, super heavy and I'm always burning myself. But this is where HexClad comes in. It is designed to simplify your time in the kitchen whilst also adding a touch of elegance to every single meal. HexClad has changed the cookware industry with an all-in-one hybrid pan that gives you the convenience and the cleanup of the non-stick, the versatility of grandma's cast iron pan, and the durability to last a lifetime. I promise you, HexClad cookware offers a lifetime warranty. So whether you're grilling in the backyard or hosting a decadent dinner party, HexClad has you covered with unbeatable performance and style. And of course, even the great Gordon Ramsay, known to be a bit of a critic, known to shit on things, he only trusts HexClad pots and pans in both his home and, of course, in all of his Michelin-star restaurants. If it's good enough for Gordon, it's probably good enough for you. So give these things a try. You're going to love them. HexClad.com/believe. Of course, if you put the code in believe, you will get 10% off. HexClad.com/believe. Support our show and check them out. HexClad.com/believe. Get the convenience of the non-stick without all the chemicals. Get some new pans that are going to last a lifetime, and you'll be right there alongside Gordon Ramsay, wowing people in your kitchen. HexClad.com/believe. for 10% off. All right, I got to say a big thank you to Tom Aspinall and welcome to the show, everybody. We started the show with Tom because, of course, he's training for UFC 304, as you just heard all about. I'm in Las Vegas for 303, working like a dog. Harrington, that's why my light situation's a little off. You know what I mean? It's not the best. I'm a little orange. My glasses look absolutely gigantic. They look like comedy glasses. They don't look that big in real life. But on this, that's why I was taking them off when I was talking to Tom. I'm like, when I put them on, they look huge on this camera or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so that's hilarious. I don't look like that much of an idiot in real life. 303, of course, the main event, Alex Pereira, Jiří Procházka. I did a video yesterday on YouTube channel saying, I think, as I said to Tom, I think Jiří's going to knock him out. It's a tremendous fight. Of course, Pereira has the ability to knock him out. He's finished him already, and he does that to everybody. And I'm a massive fan of Alex Pereira, the way he handles himself, the way he carries himself. He's very stoic. He's very scary, but he's a nice, big, seems to be a gentle sweetheart and a caring man underneath it all. So I wish him nothing but success, and I'm really, really happy for all the impact that he's made in mixed martial arts. But if I'm picking the fight, I'm going to say Jiří Procházka. But Jiří Procházka, Harrington, is accusing Pereira of using dark forces, correct?
Yeah, so he said that, it's known by everybody that Alex taps into the spiritual realm when he goes into fights. And you know what? Let's let Jiří explain it.
With Ariel, you were talking about Alex using shamans and spiritual. Can you kind of explain that?
No, I understand. Thank you. Yes, everybody knows that, and he's doing these rituals before the fight. He's everybody can feel that what's around him and what's going on. So, and I think Alex can't fight without that. So, and that's something what he's using like normally in a fighting. And let's see. This is like right now. This is my challenge to him. If we can fight in a clear way in this case, to be not without like some another things, some whatever, but let the higher power be there in the cage to see who's the best in the world, in the performance, in the pure performance. That's all.
Hey, listen, fair play. That's why I love Jiří Procházka. And maybe that's why I picked him, because I just really, really enjoy his personality. Yes, of course, I do think he can knock him out. I'm kind of joking. The reality is, though, for Jiří, hey, listen, if it doesn't show up on a USADA or whatever the organization is called test now, it's clean. You know what I mean? The shaman doesn't show up on the piss test, but it shows up in the octagon. I don't know if that's, all jokes aside, I don't know if that's, is that a little bit of mental weakness, a little bit creaking in there, that he's trying to think of a reason why Pereira is being so successful? I know that Jiří is a spiritual guy. He is a deep thinker. He is kind of a philosophical man. So maybe he's just looking deeper into it. Or do you think there's a possibility that he's like, well, listen, he must have some kind of dark forces on his side, because no man alive can be that successful?
Well, I mean, I think that was my first inclination, was obviously like, yo, this is a little bit nuts. But then, I don't know, I looked a little bit deeper into it, and it's like, you know, as the kids say, you know, who has the best aura in the UFC? You know, like that's a big talking point for them. And I feel like Alex is that dude, right? Like Alex has that like feeling of invincibility, of invulnerability when he walks into the cage. And I feel like Jiří might be feeling that a little bit. And he's not wrong. I have the video proof prepared that Alex Pereira does in fact have his shamans working diligently to get the win here.
Yeah, there's nothing there, Harrington, that would make me think that he's in line with the devil. You know, there's nothing that makes me think that he's cheating in any way, shape, or form. That he's going through a traditional ceremony with his people, with his tribesmen, a throwback to where he comes from, and recognizing the journey that he's been on. Nothing wrong with a bit of good old-fashioned tradition, Harrington.
No, and I'm not saying there is, but when you are calling on the ancestral bloodline of that entire tribe to be following you into the octagon, Jiří doesn't have that behind him. And for somebody who is as spiritually inclined as Jiří Procházka is, that actually might be that might have an effect on him mentally.
Yeah, but this is fantastic for Pereira. If he goes out there and he wins, because I'm assuming he sells a lot of merch. He has some pretty cool merch out there. He wears all his T-shirts and stuff like that because, of course, that's the best advertisement. This is the perfect idea for a T-shirt, Black Magic Pereira or whatever it be. Like Costa has the secret juice and all the rest of it. That's a T-shirt waiting to happen. It's a phenomenal fight, though. I saw a video, someone posted it on Twitter, and it slowed down some elements of the first fight where Jiří, because he does use these very over-exaggerated fainting motions as if he's going to shoot for the legs and throw punches. Like when he faints, he's really, really fainting. He's not just doing little twitches. He's shaking his head around like a madman. And he did have Pereira biting on them. And he did land a few times, and he did kind of have Pereira, I'm not going to say hurt, but the punches definitely resonated and definitely had a big impact. I just feel that he's not going to be quite as foolhardy to shoot in the way that he did. If he does shoot in, he's going to make sure that he has his head buried on the inside as opposed to the outside, where he can land the elbows. And I think the offbeat rhythm and the timing will give Pereira some problems. And as I said before to Tom, Pereira's only human. As big of a fan as I am, because I am a huge fan, and people were saying, because I said I picked Jiří by knockout, people were like, Bisping always picks against him. And it's true. I have. And it's not because I dislike the guy. It's not because I want him to lose. It's because I thought Jamal Hill might have been the guy to do it. Do you know what I mean? And the first time I thought, Jiří switched on. He's going to do it. And now once again, maybe I believe in the underdogs. Call it what you will. Who's your pick, Harrington?
I mean, coming into the first Alex versus Jiří fight, I had Jiří just because I was concerned with whether or not Alex's power really translated to 205. Now we've seen 3 fights at 205. He didn't get the finish against Jan, finished Jamal Hill in spectacular fashion, finished Jiří. Some people say it was an early stoppage, whatever the case may be. But I mean, you saw his power on display. So as long as that power does translate up to 205, I can't pick against him, especially in a fight where I don't think wrestling's going to be implied by Jiří all that heavily.
Yeah, of course, and that's a fair point. And I think it's a logical stance to take. I mean, he is knocking everybody out. That is his one trick, but it's a very, very successful trick. Do you know what I mean? You don't need, when you've got a trick like that, you don't need any other tricks. Just keep the fight on the feet, swing for the fences, use that left hook, put everyone to sleep, take them to the shadow realm, and then go back home to the tribesmen, to the shamans, and pray to your gods. Happy days. But I still think Jiří does it. I don't know. I've just got a feeling. Of course, co-main event. In fact, Brian, we'll let you be the middleman on this. Who you got, buddy?
I got Alex. Alex is the one touch, dude's, he's been knocking everybody out. Like you said, I think Alex is going to keep doing that for quite a while.
He's got the touch of death.
Yeah.
He does. I just love how, and I've said this before, like he doesn't talk much. He's a man of few words, and he doesn't really smile that much, but he does seem to have a very warm energy to him. You see him interacting with people. You see him changing the tire, and I've seen other examples of kind behavior like that as well. Not only that, it makes you warm towards him.
But he has a great sense of humor, or maybe somebody on his team does, because the amount of just memes and trolls that he goes through on the internet, it's great. He's great. No, a great follow on Twitter.
I see all those little viral clips and stuff. He's great. And then the translator, that's always with him. The big heavyset dude. Those guys are close. I don't think I've ever seen Pereira without seeing him.
Well, I mean, if he's your interpreter in a foreign land where you don't speak the language, you kind of need that guy with you. That's
Tom Aspinall's version of his dad.
Yeah.
You got to have a wingman. You got to have your right-hand man. Fair play. That fight's going to be tremendous. Lionheart, though. Lionheart was making some headlines. Lionheart was getting some hate. Listen, when you're a fighter, you've got to believe in yourself. It's as simple as that. And there's nothing wrong with anything that Anthony said, but people like to shit on him. I was looking at some of the comments on Twitter because he was talking yesterday how everybody, well, I say everybody, a lot of people, multiple people in the light heavyweight division turned him down. And that's why he's having to fight a middleweight. Of course, Carlos Ulberg, still don't know what the injury is. It's a shame that fight's not happening. Dolidze steps in. Anthony said it's because people didn't want to fight him. All the comment section like, yes, because you're a nobody and there's no point fighting you. That was a lot of the noise that I saw on Twitter. I was like, all right, okay. But it is kind of a tough one for Anthony. It does bring in some extra pressure. Olberg was riding high on a 6-fight win streak. Dolidze's lost 2 in a row at middleweight, you know. So again, it's like one of those situations where if he gets the win, of course it's another win. He's been active, part of a massive card, make a shit ton of money. They're all really, really, really big positives, you know, of course. But if he loses, it's like, shit, it's kind of tricky. It's tricky. So it's going to be, you know, Anthony's been there many times. He's made that walk so many times. So he's used to that feeling of pressure and nerves and anxiety pre-fight, you know, but he is going to have to keep an eye on that. I think he's the better guy on the feet. I think he's the better guy on the ground. But I do think we got to watch Dolidze because early he's going to come out swinging. And he does. Dolidze is not really a refined, most technical striker that you'll see. But he does have a brutish, thuggish power. And the way that he delivers his shots is kind of wild, you know. And those kind of wild shots, when they're unorthodox, they're the ones that end up catching you. And he's a big lump. He's fought at 205 before. He's got a complicated ground game. I saw DC saying this, and I agree wholeheartedly. The path to victory for Anthony isn't quite as straightforward as Olberg, because Olberg, all he's got to do is take him down, and he's by far the better man. Easier said than done. Not quite as clean cut or as straightforward with Roman Dolidze, but I would be very, very surprised if Anthony doesn't get him down and probably get a submission halfway through the second round or the third.
Interesting.
Why? What do you think?
I mean, I like the ground and pound finish. You know,
yeah,
I think
submission,
that
ground and pound, whatever. Take him down, get on top, control and beat the shit out of him. Submission, beat him into submission. You know, there's many ways we can, you know, skin this.
Make him tap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tap to strikes. That's my official prediction. No, I think in any Roman Dolidze fight, it comes down to who's the bigger dog in the fight. Right. And I think it's very similar with Anthony Smith fights. And I think Anthony Smith doesn't lose those. Right. Like Anthony Smith is typically, you know, he's got the experience factor on his side. He's been there. He's done that. He is the bigger guy. He has the better power, in my opinion. Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, Dolidze is very opportunistic with his submission game. Like he's always going for it, right? Like if he's on bottom, he will find a way to try to get a transition and immediately go for the choke. He always chooses submission over position. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that Anthony knows how to deal with those guys very well. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight, but I do think it's emphatically going to be an Anthony Smith win.
Yeah, the one thing on the ground, you got to watch the leg locks. Dolidze has a weird series of unorthodox, pardon me, leg locks and submissions and stuff like that, knee bars, toe holds, etc., etc. So, but yeah, I've got full confidence. You know what I mean? You know, if you've been around the gym as many years as Anthony has, for the most part, you've seen all of those tricks. What else we got on that card? Just refresh my memory, because I'm running around like a headless chicken here. I'm doing this TV show. I'm doing Slap tomorrow. Paige Van Zandt making a debut. Ooh. Oh, I'm doing a thing tomorrow? Tonight. Say again.
She's making her debut tomorrow?
Paige Van Zandt will be slapping away at the Fontainebleau Casino tomorrow night. That's the newest and brightest and biggest and fanciest casino in all of Las Vegas right now. And they're selling tickets. There's going to be thousands of people there. It's going to be fun.
Damn. That sounds fun as hell.
It does. Dude, I'm telling you. Check this out, though. So I've got to do, I'm doing an appearance. By the time this comes out, it will have been and done. Culture Kings in Las Vegas. It's a big clothing store. I've never been there. Apparently, it's a big, huge store. And I just had to do like a meet and greet. It's International Fight Week, tons of fans in town. I'm like, yeah, sure, get a nice little check for doing, you know, going out and meeting a few people. Easy money, and always happy to take it. They called me up last thing, and they were like, Mike, we had an idea. There's going to be a bunch of other fighters there. So, you know, like you've done Tales from the Octagon, we're just going to think, we've said to them that you'll do like a Tales from the Octagon, and you'll like interview the fighters and tell stories and do this and do that and have a bit of interaction with the crowd. I was like, what? I said, number one, when I did that, I was nervous as hell for months on end because I'm not a stand-up comedian. Secondly, months of prep went into that, and I worked with comedy writers and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, what the f*** are you talking about? So now I've got Brandon Moreno, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and I've got Rude Boy Randy Brown right about now. And I've just got to, you know, on the fly, you know, off the cuff, just come out with a whole little thing, entertain the crowd, and we all have a great time.
Yeah, you have to prep a show on the fly. My God, dude. When did they hit you with this?
Last night. Last night. I'm like, oh, okay. It's fine. It's fine. All I'll do is I'll go out, say hi to everyone. We'll speak to the fighters, introduce them, ask the crowd some questions. Who do you think is going to win and all that stuff? And then I think there's going to be like some kind of competition, and one of the fighters gets dunked with like a bunch of slime or something, which I'm not a part of, thank God, because I'm the host. I'm like, So anyway, fun times here in Las Vegas. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. What else have we got, buddy?
Second fight down on the card, the co-main event, Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega. Interesting fight at 145. If you heard Ortega talking early this week, he said that he was completely out on fights at 145, said nothing made sense for him, and he was looking ahead to possibly making his lightweight debut at UFC Noche in September. Instead, gets the call about this fight, 3-round co-main event, not a 5-rounder, but yeah, defending his spot against Diego Lopez.
Yeah, and I kind of get that from Ortega, because Ortega's one of the top featherweights, but given the situation with Max Holloway becoming now the massive global superstar, certainly after the Justin Gaethje fight, he's looking and honing in on title fights only or other big opportunities defending the BMF belt against other people. Volkanovski is like the former pound-for-pound number one. He's like, I want a rematch with Topuria. Topuria, we don't know what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? And all the while, you've got Brian Ortega that's only really lost to Volkanovski and Max Holloway because he popped his shoulder out against Rodriguez in the first one. So it was a tricky spot. Now, of course, you get this new guy, Diego Lopez. He's hot shit right now. So it's a big opportunity for him. I think it's a tough fight, though. But I saw this, and I was like, is Brian Ortega having a laugh? And then I saw Dominic Cruz and a bunch of other fighters down at the Mexican PI doing the same thing, duct taping their mouth shut. This was on the Countdown show. He said he was duct taping his mouth because he can't control his excitement or something like that. And I thought he's just having a laugh and being silly. Then I saw Dominic Cruz on a treadmill and a bunch of other fighters in the mirrors on the treadmill, all with the mouth tape shut. And I'm like, what is going on? If the idea is, if the exercise is don't breathe through your mouth, only breathe through your nose, then only breathe through your nose. You don't need to put bloody duct tape on your mouth. For sake, do we have any discipline?
Yeah, you're not going to have that duct tape in the fight. So what are we doing here?
No. Well, maybe they're trying to increase their VO2 max or the cardiovascular system or whatever the science is. You know what I mean? Okay.
So it's like batting with a donut on, like you get a couple of practice swings with it heavier so that when you get the real bat in your hand, it's light, it's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know if Brian was just taking the piss. Maybe he saw Dominic Cruz's post, because that is the thing, right? Mixed martial arts has grown massively. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Definitely one of the biggest sports on the planet now, which is great. Of course, as the sport gets bigger and bigger, more money involved, more people are attracted towards it. And now we're getting all this new fandangled training methods. I was talking to a fighter the other day. They believe a lot of the new fighters don't spar enough, that they don't go hard enough. I forget who it was. Who was it? Because I've got no problem dropping his name. It was when I was in Saudi Arabia. I honestly forget who it was right now. I'm tired. And he was like, these new guys, they don't push themselves. They're not sparring as hard. You've got to go hard. Who was it? It was one of the bloody fighters coaches in Saudi. I forget. Anyway, and he's like, yeah, they don't. I'm in the gyms all the time. They're not sparring as hard as they should do. Now, I know the risk versus reward. I know the injuries and all the rest of it. So you got to train appropriately. And then Michael Chiesa was saying that they don't really go that hard, but you've got to train hard. Anyway, back to the original point. Sometimes they overcomplicate it with science and all the rest of it. Yeah, there's great technique. And yes, science when it comes to strength and conditioning is very important, how the human body works. But sometimes it's just good old-fashioned hard work. Do you know what I mean? And I don't need someone telling me to put a piece of duct tape on my mouth, right? It's like when I was fighting, Paradigm Sports Management, they brought in like a PR consultant, right? And we sat down at a table. And there's me, Tony Ferguson. There was a bunch of other fighters all in the UFC. And I was late, of course. I just finished a training session. I had a big fight coming up. I get there a little bit late. I walk in. I think that ruffled the woman's feathers. She was a very nice lady, by the way, who shall remain nameless. Very nice lady. And I walked in. I think that ruffled the feathers because I was a little late. And I was like, hair still wet and shit and sweat everywhere. I'm like, oh, sorry, because I was like, well, what is this crap anyway? Anyway, they were telling us how to conduct ourselves in interviews. And she says, right, I've got a little exercise for you all. And she wanted us to take pens in our mouth while still trying to talk, because then you use different muscles in your mouth. It was at that point I said, listen, I'm sure you're very good at what you do, but I'm very busy. I'm training for a fight. You guys take care. Good luck. I was very impressed that Tony Ferguson stayed, but I was like, this, I'm out of here. The point that I'm making is, yes, I'm sure there is some benefits to that, but at a certain point, we know what we're doing here. We don't need to duct tape our mouths. Okay. And I'm sure Dominic Cruz is going to come out with all of the science, just like when I was commentating a fight and a cornerman was saying, okay, 7 had 2. What's the number? 9. And I criticized that. And Dean Thomas came out and said, well, what it's doing is it's stimulating the limbic system of the brain. And when they're doing that, then you know that they're present and all the rest of it. Yeah, you know what else is, how else you know that you're present? Just having a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Just like, you good, buddy? Yeah, I'm good. It's all like all these new fandangled ways. Great. It's like, when I was training Perillo, I've said this before, I had this strength and conditioning coach. He was tremendous, but he said, for this camp, Michael, we don't want you to run too much, okay? Because running, you're going to wear your body down. You're going to burn a lot of muscle mass. We don't want you running too much. So I go into the gym on Monday morning. I'm like, yeah, here's the plan with the strength and conditioning. And they don't want me running too much. And Jason goes, you know why? I said, why? He said, because running's free. They can't charge you $150 an hour or whatever the case is, to go for a run. They want you in here billing you. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Anyway, with all that said, Harrington, who do you think wins that fight?
I think this is the year of the old guard just turning people back, right? Like, you had it with Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, there's, I can pull up 15 examples. I mean, hell, Anthony's fight against Vitor Petrino is one that comes to mind. And there's just something in the air about, this old guard just taking a stand, lying in the stand and saying, nah, we're not done yet. Like, I'm not giving up my spot to you. You have not earned this. I've been here for a decade putting in work, but you back of the line, kid. And I think Brian Ortega is ready to defend that spot. I mean, the fight against Yair Rodriguez was about as, just clean and perfect a fight as you could have. So for me to pick against that guy when the only people he's lost to, as you said, are absolute title level people in Volkanovski and Holloway, I don't know. I can't pull the trigger on picking against Brian Ortega, even if Diego Lopez down the line is the future of this division.
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of maybe a bit of recency bias. On my predictions video, I said Lopez does it, and I'll still say that now to be consistent. But that's not because I've got any kind of underappreciation for Brian Ortega. He's phenomenal. He just hasn't been as active, and Lopez has been starching everybody in the first round. But for Ortega, if he can do that, if he can push back Diego Lopez, a man with this meteoric rise, then of course it solidifies his place. And I think once the division kind of shakes out, we'll see Ortega fighting for a belt again in the near future. Here's one I'm very, very excited to talk about. Ian Garry, Michael Venom Page, right? They've been chatting a bit of shit. Ian Gary's very outspoken. Michael Venom Page is a very nice guy. He's a gentleman. He is. But he has not been backwards in coming forward with a bit of shit talk when it comes to Ian Gary.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just watch it.
Same role with Conor. People love Conor. People like these massive fan base. With you, people hate you. And I think it's because we can all feel when something is not real. When same role with Conor, people love Conor.
Now keep it going, Brian. There's some good stuff coming up, I believe.
Oh, sorry, that clip was just that short.
Oh, well, give me some more.
I got Ian Gary.
Let's have Ian Gary coming right about to back now.
Mate, let's be real about that. He's fighting. If this was in Bellator, he'd be fighting a can. How so? Let's engage that. How so?
He didn't really elaborate. I mean, I'm sure
What he's trying to do is talk out of his arse and make it that he's more elite than me. 7 wins in the UFC, 14-0 undefeated. I've beaten 3 ranked opponents. I am on my way to be a world champion. There's a reason why everyone's talking about me being one of the best prospects the sport's ever seen. MVP is coming to the UFC to try and legitimize his career at Bellator. I'm going to end that on Saturday night.
I mean, listen, what they're both saying, you can't blame either of them. Ian Gary grates a lot of people. He does. And maybe a lot of it is due to, all right, his cockiness. You know, his arrogance to a certain degree. You can't hold that against a fighter because you need that. You know, McGregor obviously was arrogant. I was cocky and probably arrogant in my self-belief. Of course, you need to have that. I think MVP had a great point because there is a certain element that has inspired Ian Gary and maybe is trying to copy that. And MVP was saying that it comes across as fake. But you can't hold that against Ian Gary. Of course, he's going to be inspired by Conor McGregor. What do you think?
Well, I mean, for him to go out and say, I'm the most talked about, most elite prospect that the UFC's ever seen, it's like, come on, dude, who are you talking to here? You're talking to the MMA media who knows who these prospects actually are, who watched Ilia Topuria, rise up and immediately start talking about taking out the top of the division and went and did everything that he said he was going to do, consistently took the big jumps in competition and fought the toughest guys that he could. Yeah. I don't see Ian Gary doing that. He's getting in there against Neil Magny and fighting very safely in the 3rd round to an obvious decision win, but not doing what it takes to be that Conor McGregor, to be that next super duper star who has finishes on his resume, highlights you can point to say, that's the next guy. We know you're not that dude. So why are you telling us you're that dude? It's clearly fake and false.
And
Brian, before you jump in, I just want to say, bring this version of Harrington every time. I like this version. Sorry, Brian.
Not only that, but he's not the story most of the time. He's in the news. It's his wife and the dealings around his weird lifestyle. Like, it's not him knocking everyone out.
Yeah, well, as a UFC commentator, I got to keep it professional. So I'm going to keep the wife stuff, to a bare minimum. But you're right, because he does talk about being the superstar, right? And as a guy that I'm not a media member, I'm no journalist, and I don't ever want to be. I'm a fighter that still makes a living out of the fight game. And I do a YouTube channel, we do a podcast, and we have a great time. But he talks about all these numbers. I've done videos on Ian Gary, and they've performed shit. That's why I don't bother doing them anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? So and I think it's when he says that, that's what grates people. People don't want someone to tell you, to convince you how great they are. They want to see how great you are and make that opinion themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like Conor McGregor was clearly great. He was clearly something special. And the world knew that. And then, of course, with his swagger and his charm and his wit and his, charisma, the Riz, they only made him even bigger. Yes, Ian Gary's doing great things. He is undefeated, and that's a great thing, and he's done very well, but constantly telling everyone the whole time, and as you say, using a game plan that made for kind of a, pedestrian-paced fight in Jeff Neal doesn't necessarily go hand in hand when McGregor was starching people. As I say, I'm not holding it against him for going to a decision, but don't say you're going to come out here and finish everyone in the 1st round and you're the future of the sport and the only reason why people are tuning in. Let other people say that about you.
It's the Colby effect all over again, right? Like Colby Covington will say, "Oh, I'll beat you up, I'll knock you out, I'll wrestle you into a million ways, I'll submit you, I'll do this, that, the other." We all know if it's a Colby Covington fight, if he has any chance of winning, it is going to be a hotly contested 5-round decision fight. So it's like, there's a disconnect that you have there that you expect me not to notice as a fan, and it's belittling to the fan base, I think.
So what you're saying is that Ian Gary wins in spectacular fashion Saturday night?
I'm saying I think MVP does legitimize himself a little bit. I think the range is going to be a problem for him. We've seen him have problems with, like I said, he was doing everything he could to not fall into a firefight with Neil Magny, because he did think there was a path to him getting finished by Neil. If you have those concerns with Neil Magny, you're not ready for MVP.
Yeah, listen, you make some great points, Harrington. You really do. And as I say, solid performance today, brother. You've been on the Joe Biden debate drugs. What's going on tonight? I'm devastated, by the way, that I'm here. Like, me and Rebecca, we're not too much into politics, but we're all into this debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I'm here in Las Vegas, and Rebecca's like, God, because she's not been too well lately. She's kind of bedbound for a little bit. And she's like, I thought we could just, have some food, sit on the bed, watch the debate. And the theory is that they're pumping him full of drugs for him to be able to give it some. Now we get Brian.
No, there's just some wild shit going on. It's like a 1 to 2 minute delay. They're going to be cutting microphones for the other person. Like, there's a lot of crazy ass things that are going on around here.
Yeah. No, I know. How did I get onto that? What was it? Pumping him full of drugs?
You were like, I can't believe I'm here. I should be at home watching the debate with.
Yeah, but why did I say that? What was the comparison?
Because I actually showed up for a show for once.
Yeah. There you go. You show up for every show. You bring up some great points. I think MVP. I think Ian Gary's going to struggle. This is not because of any dislike or anything like that. When you look at his style, which is predicated on length, range, kickboxing, I think MVP does all those things better. And he's faster at closing the distance. I think he has more power. With small gloves and knees and kicks and elbows, anything can happen. We're all capable of knocking somebody out. But I just think stylistically, it's a really tough opponent for Ian Gary. However, I'm picking MVP to win. I think if he does win, there's a good chance of it being a stoppage. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Ian Gary wrestles him right from the get-go. He's been training with Charles Olivera and the shooter box team down in Brazil for quite some time now, right? And Charles Olivera is really good at taking people down. When you're doing jiu-jitsu at a high level, yes, it's not. Jiu-jitsu takedowns aren't like wrestling takedowns, but he's training high-level jiu-jitsu with MMA fighters that know how to wrestle double leg, single leg, high crotch, all the rest of it. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Ian Gary turn into a takedown artist and we get to see MVP say, "Oh, so you're a wrestler now." It'd be funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the frustrating part to me too, because that is Ian Gary's path to victory in my mind, is to make it a Colby Covington style fight, and nobody wants that.
Yes. Well, we don't know. I'm looking at the non-MMA stories. We've got one or two other MMA stuff, and then we'll call this one a day, because I've got lots of shit to do. But there's a lot of stuff in there, Hamilton, in terms of non-MMA. In your mind, what is the front runner? What is the top story?
I think I don't know, just because I don't have a video, maybe not, but this one just seems interesting. A cop in South Carolina who got a demotion for using the city's surveillance cameras to spy on his wife, because he assumed, or he thought in his mind, that she was having an affair with a fellow officer. He did use those same cameras to find them together in a Target parking lot. So good police work.
Resourceful, really.
So he wasn't a paranoid maniac. He was absolutely correct. Used the weapons and the tools at his disposal to prove it. Well, good for him.
Yeah, but turns out you're not allowed to use government property to find out if your wife is cheating on you. So while he did not lose his job and no criminal charges will be pressed against him, the lieutenant has now been busted down to the role of detective, I believe.
Not allowed to use government funding unless you're a politician. then it's fine.
Oh,
then you can travel around the world on the people's dollars. All right, today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp, which of course is therapy done online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule, and of course, a very, very easy way for you to start becoming the best version of yourself. The problem is with going to therapy, there's a lot of anxiety involved with that alone. Making the appointment, walking in the office, talking to the person, you get a little nervous at that by yourself, okay? In that alone. When you go to BetterHelp, you just fill in a brief questionnaire. You'll be matched with a licensed professional therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time if you're not vibing with that person. So stop comparing yourself to others and start focusing on being the best version of yourself with BetterHelp. When you go to betterhelp.com/believe, you will get 10% off your first month. Regardless of whatever problem that you're dealing with, we all need a little bit of help. And speaking to a licensed professional therapist is definitely going to help. I guarantee it's going to help, regardless of whether it's addiction issues, substance abuse, anger issues, anxiety, depression. Talking about your problems with somebody that knows what they're talking about will 100% help you get on the correct path to being the best version of yourself. So right now, go to betterhelp.com/believe to get 10% off your first month. betterhelp.com/believe.
All right. So speaking of government funding and misappropriation of funds, the Supreme Court has essentially made bribery legal. They voted 6-3 to repeal a law that was it was put in place so that people who awarded government contracts to politicians who awarded government contracts would not be able to collect gifts or anything like that from the companies that they gave it to. So, for instance, this case that came before the Supreme Court, a guy gave a trash business $1.1 million in funding, and they kicked him back $12,000. So it's like. And the Supreme Court said that's allowed.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can you say? Nothing. I mean, number one, I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about the legal system. But I'm not surprised. They're all a bunch of bloody crooks. I mean, these politicians are worth so much money. It's insane. And every time there's a war or whatever, turns out a lot of these politicians are investing and buying stocks, that are about to be used and make tons of money. The companies are about to make a ton of money. It's crazy. It's a shame, because these are the people that are supposed to be looking out for the people, that are elected by the people, to do a good job. When in fact they just turn out to be lining their own pockets. So do your own thing, ladies and gentlemen, and just look out for you. But anyway, this is an MMA show, not a politics show. This is not bloody Fox News. Jesus Christ, Harrington, what are you doing? What are the stories? Sean Strickland, I see him in the news. There's a lot of Sean Strickland stuff in the news right now. There's him almost getting into a fight at a rock climbing place. We won't talk about that. We'll talk about him and Robert Whittaker. Because I said on the show, I think on Monday, I would love to see Robert Whittaker versus Sean Strickland. And I think other people have echoed that kind of same sentiment. And I think that's because that is, on paper, A, a great fight, and B, a logical fight to make. Sean Strickland came out, refuted all of that. He said, the world knows that I beat Dricus. I also beat Israel Adesanya. I'm going to wait on the sidelines. Words to that effect, right? There's nothing that I'm missing.
No.
And you know what? It's hard for Strickland because I don't necessarily disagree. It was a super close fight with Dricus. I thought Dricus just edged it. But regardless, it was one of those. I'm certainly open to hearing arguments the other way. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say you're crazy. You don't know what you're watching. It was a close fight. And he did beat Israel Adesanya without question. He dominated the fight. So I understand his stance. But we all know what happens when people wait on the sidelines. And Dricus versus Israel Adesanya is going to go down in Perth. And you don't know what's going to happen. Let's just say Dricus wins. But let's say he's banged up and he's going to be out for 6 months. So what, is Sean going to wait all this time? You know what I mean? Make hay while the sun shines. It's like Tom Aspinall said to me before we started, before we went live with the show. Because I'm in Vegas, I'm doing this, that, and the other. He's like, why do you work so hard? Why are you doing this and that? I said, well, yeah, you got to make hay while the sun shines. You know what I mean? I've got opportunities right now still, and I'm very thankful for my fight career sorry to talk about myself, but it's about Strickland essentially. You know, I've got opportunities now, and hopefully they continue to come. But there might and probably will be a day where those opportunities stop to come in. And maybe that's mental weakness. Maybe it's a little bit of not enough confidence in myself or whatever. But, you know, it's like you take these opportunities. There will come a day when Sean Strickland wishes that he had an extra 10 months of his fight career to have a couple more big fights. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen, but there is a danger to that. There's definitely a danger. And in the meantime, you know, I mean, Robert just had a massive win, right? Against a guy, a change of opponents on short notice. Look at what Dustin Poirier did against Benoit Saint-Denis. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I understand Sean's point, and it's probably just a fan in me, but he should fight fucking Robert Whittaker.
He 100% should fight Robert Whittaker. The reason Sean Strickland got a title shot in the first place is by being the guy who would fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. Took a light heavyweight bout on short notice to begin the year last year. Stepped up against Magomedov and got the knockout win. And that's what put him in line for the title shot on short notice, right? Now, you want to be a guy who takes your ball and run with it, while Robert Whittaker accepts a fight against the boogeyman of the division, Khamzat Chimaev, accepts a last-second different opponent with the words anyone, anytime, anywhere, says, you know what? I'm not fighting at 305. I'm no one's backup. I am the main event, and I want to fight later on this year, right? That's a guy who's staying active. By the way, his last win before he knocked out Alex Pereira, that's the guy who you just beat, Sean. You know, and he did it in a more convincing, like, you know, obviously, a more exciting fashion than you did, right? So it's like, I don't see the case that Sean Strickland has. And I'm a guy who thinks that he beat Dricus, you know? And so in my mind, he's beaten Dricus, he's beaten Izzy, he should be next in line. But you can't deny Robert Whittaker if Robert Whittaker is going to be active and you're going to be fighting Rock Club managers.
Yes, yeah, and great points. And very, very well delivered, I might add as well. I mean, again, keep that Joe Biden juice coming, buddy. I like this version. No, great points. Great points. I guess anytime you fight, though, there's always a risk. And I'm not saying Sean's doing it because he's scared of Robert Whittaker. I'm sure he's not scared. In fact, I'm positive he's not scared. You know, I love it when fans say, oh, he's scared. They ain't scared, okay? They're never scared, but they do understand the threat. You know, and there's definitely a distinction between the two. And it would be a tough fight. Robert Whittaker is not an easy fight for anybody. And for anyone to assume that is just ridiculous. But I do think, to Sean's case, there's probably a point or a part of his mind where he's like, I've done this. I've been around the UFC for a long time. I've worked my ass off. I've taken those short notice fights that you mentioned. I'm just trying to put myself in his mind, you know, which is not an easy thing to do. And if you put yourself in Sean Strickland's mind, it's a wild place. Let me just tell you that. People are getting knocked out all over the place. Have you seen the shit he puts on Twitter? My God, he put one on today. I was led in bed this morning. What was it? Oh, don't get me wrong. I love knocking a guy out as much as the next one or something like that. I forget what it is. Let me bring it up.
I thought you were talking about one of his Ring video doorbell installations for the week.
Sean, hold on, let's have a look. What did he say this morning? He's going on about illegals. Life lessons from me. I love hitting a guy as much as the next guy. Literally sleeping someone on the streets over bullshit is the most satisfying thing one can do. But when you're waking up at 7 a.m. to go sit in front of a judge to fight the government, you 100% will regret it. Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Do you know what I find satisfaction in? Being man enough to walk away. There's a beauty in that. But anyway, the point that I was making, you know, for Sean, he's taken the long route. He's been around the UFC for a long time, and he got his chance, and he fulfilled that chance, that opportunity, and he became the champion. And in his mind, he's probably like, listen, I've done this. I've paid my dues. I want my shot. I want a rematch. But that isn't how the sport works. And he may or may not regret that, because who knows, maybe it works out. What do I know? I have no idea, you know, but generally the case and the way forward would be to continue to fight, create those opportunities, force them, you know, force the UFC's hand. You know, I don't mean, you know, literally, I mean, continue to win fights, continue to be a fan favorite, have the crowd and the fans demanding that he gets another shot. Because right now it's kind of, well, Whittaker's making a pretty good case at the moment as well. But Dricus has beaten Whittaker, and Israel Adesanya has beaten Whittaker twice as well. So, you know, there is that. Speaking of the Perth card, Olivera reportedly has turned down several fights. Is that what you're saying?
No, so what I'm seeing is that everybody and their mother is linking Charles Olivera to fights, and Charles Olivera is saying, what? I have no knowledge of these things. So it started like Dan Hooker came out yesterday, said, I'm fighting him at Perth. I've already signed the contract, so I'm just waiting on Charles Olivera, but I'm sure it'll be signed in just a couple of minutes. I saw somebody say that he is, the UFC's going back to Canada sometime in the fall, so he's going to fight Mateusz Gamrot there. I saw another thing saying he's going to fight Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC Paris later this year, and then there was one other one, but it's like, Volkanovski was apparently supposed to be moving up to lightweight to fight him. So it's like, you know, and everyone's saying all these things. Charles Olivera said, yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm getting booked in a lot of fights, maybe in the metaverse, but not in real life.
Yeah, poor old Charles. He's just chilling at home in Brazil, and he's like, what the fuck? What's going on? Oh, dear. All right, listen, I got a ton of stuff to do today. I will be at Coach King's later on. If you do go there, hopefully I'll see you there. But by the time you see this, that's been and gone. Anyway, Harrington, great job today. UFC 303 this weekend. Let's go Lionheart. I think I can say that on behalf of all the believers and all these people working on this show. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. What am I saying? It's not the end of a YouTube video. We're not going to do questions today. I've got a busy schedule. But if you do have a question for Monday, send it into bympod@gmail.com.
And if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, make sure to subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating, positive review. It really helps out on those platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel and you hit that notification bell to find out whenever a new video drops. And if you want to catch over 500 episodes you can't find anywhere else, completely ad-free and totally uncensored, head to gasdigital.com. Use the promo code BYM. Save 20% on membership.
Have a good weekend. Enjoy the fights.